Thank you very much, Amber. We want to welcome back. Well, right now we wanted to say that the three candidates running to replace Neil Abercrombie in Hawaii's 1st Congressional District faced off in their first live broadcast debate last night. The hour-and-a-half debate was held on Hawaii Public Radio. State Senate President Colleen Hanabusa, City Councilman Charles Zhu, and former Congressman Ed Case all faced off there. And joining us this morning, fresh from the debate last night, is former Congressman Case. And, sir, thanks so much for being back on our newscast. Really appreciate it.
Good to be back.
Let's talk about health care. Of course, a critical vote this week in Congress. It was a big topic at the debate last night. And, well, let me ask you, sir, first of all, would you sign this bill if you were in Congress right now?
Well, let's back up and say that this should not be about whether we do or don't support President Obama. This should not be about whether we are or not Republicans or Democrats. This should not be about whether we're going to win or lose. It should be about health care reform, about available, affordable, accessible health care reform for our country. Problems, 30 million plus Americans that cannot get insurance, escalating costs at 10%. I wish I'd been there to mold a different bill, to add in provisions that I believe are important, such as tort reform, such as health savings accounts, such as budgetary constraints. But if I was put to a vote on the bill now versus no bill at all, versus no reform at all, I would have to say, I've got to go with what we got, fix it later.
And, of course, this was a hot topic at the debate last night, and this is a good chance for, I guess, voters out there to see the difference between you and of course, your opponents. Of course, Colleen Hanabusa says that she would support the bill. Charles Zhu, who is a Republican, the only Republican in the field, says he would not. For people out there who maybe are just trying to get familiar with the candidates, what is your take on the differences between, first of all, you and Councilman Charles Zhu?
Well, I think Charles and Colleen, really both of them, live in the partisan world. They come out of that world. They're beholden to a highly partisan centralization of power and control in Washington. They would be part of the problem, not part of the solution. I have believed and acted independently. I have believed and acted on moderate, middle ground, consensus solutions, and I believe that there needs to be a better way forward for our country and for our Hawaii. So I represent that different way of going about. That is, in the broadest sense of the word, where the difference is. In addition, I do have 4+ years as a member of Congress. I do have seniority and experience. I do have another 3 years in Washington. So I know my way there, and I know what I'm doing there, and they don't. Those are two principal differences.
Let's talk about one of the differences there. Now, Colleen Hanabusa always touts that she's been supported by Senator Dan Inouye. Dan Inouye is known as the earmark king in Washington, D.C. Now, this is something that you're against, but earmarks are something that has provided a ton of money to Hawaii that's really helped our economy. What is your stance on earmarks? Right now, there is a movement in Congress to try to knock earmarks out of all the measures that go through the House. And once again, Senator Inouye is self-proclaimed king of the earmarks.
Well, first of all, I worked closely with Senator Inouye and the other members of the delegation when I was in Congress to provide adequate and directed federal funding to Hawaii. So I'm not against earmarks per se. I don't believe that the solution that Charles's party has come up with, which is absolutely no earmarks whatsoever, is the right way to go about earmark reform. There are appropriate times when a member of Congress, individually or as a delegation, should direct federal funding to needed programs in his or her state. I have no problem with that. The problem with earmarks right now is the connection between earmarks and lobbying and campaign contributions, and that's where the problem is. It's a corrosive atmosphere that is getting worse, and it's even corruptive in the case of some members of Congress, as we've already seen. That needs to be reformed, but you don't need to throw the entire earmark process out in order to get to that reform. You can de-link, for example, earmarks from those receiving earmarks. You can say, if you get an earmark, no federal campaign contributions. That will make a world of difference in Washington.
And last question, let's talk about the special election coming up. Still some questions surrounding the dates, the manner, the mail-in election. What are some of your concerns?
I don't have any real concerns other than people knowing exactly what's going to go down. We've got May 22nd is the date set for the special election, but people will have a ballot in the mail on or right about May 1st, and they will be able to vote it by return in the mail. It'll be nice and simple. A couple of important things there. Probably the most important is to be sure that you're registered to vote with a current address by April 22nd. That's the deadline for that. So April 22nd, check your registration. You voted the last time, didn't change your address, no problem. Any doubts, Office of Elections. And I think we're going to have a good, solid election.
All right, to Congressman, former Congressman Ed Case, hoping to be, of course, Congressman Ed Case shortly as of May 22nd. Tomorrow we'll have his opponent, Colleen Hanabusa, on, the Senate President, and on Thursday, Councilman CharlesAju is scheduled to be on our morning show right at this time. Sir, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be right back with much more on KITV4.